Guys, NIO stock is absolutely exploding. I said before, if we close above 4.5, we're going to get a short squeeze. And we are at $5 per share. Holy moly macaroni. The shorts are fucked. Fucked. All right. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that the CEO said. A government safety net, which I think all investors should know about. We're going to poke some more fun at Li Auto. And this is going to be a pretty interesting video. So first of all, the stock price, very, very bullish momentum these past couple days, just absolutely rocketing up. This is very, very nice. The next target we got to break, $5.50. And yeah, it's looking like, we could possibly break that and even head higher, which is very, very nice. And it's very apparent if you look at the stock price movement between NIO and Li Auto. Li Auto's kind of been trending down recently, whereas NIO has been going up. Clearly, a sentiment, it reflects the sentiment of investors. Investors are optimistic about the Envo L90 and pessimistic about the Li Auto i8. And if you look at just the comparison between the Li Auto i8 and Envo L90, the i8 is more expensive, but it doesn't have a frunk. Absolutely crazy. Here's another content creator here in China. I really like this guy. His name is Feigo. And look at that, man. Like the huge, massive frunk. You can sit in there, get a foot massage, enjoy beautiful views. And one really interesting thing is that you got to understand that Li Auto has no proprietary moat, basically. All right. All their stuff can be replicated. And in fact, I'm going to blow your mind again. Not only does the i8 not have a massive frunk, the fridge, it's manual, all right? So you press the button, you got to pull out the fridge. Whereas with NIO, it's all automatic. You press the button, the fridge comes out. You press the button, it goes back in. All right, with Li Auto, you got to press the button, it pops out, and then you have to pull it out, and then you got to push it back in. And in 2025, that's kind of not acceptable. All right, so it's a different caliber of product, right? Clearly, like the i8, in my opinion, is subpar to the Envo L90, whereas the Envo L90 is even more spacious and even has features such as the massive frunk and of course battery swap and 900 volt. And there's a big thing that could boost sales of L90 tremendously. And this was basically a bunch of NIO owners asking NIO's CEO whether or not that existing NIO owners will be able to transfer their privileges over to the Envo L90. What does that mean? For example, I have free battery swap for life. I have unlimited free warranty. If I buy a new NIO, I can transfer that over. But if I buy an Envo L60, I can't. But a lot of people have been requesting this. And I actually asked a few NIO owners, and they've said that if they're able to transfer their privileges, they will pull the trigger and buy the Envo L90. Namely because a lot of these NIO owners, they've been waiting for a 900 volt, basically 800 volt plus NIO. If they switch to an existing NIO, apart from the ET9, it's still 400 volt. It's still the same battery pack. It's kind of, not exactly upgrading that much. Right, so they're a bit hesitant to upgrade. But if you're able to transfer the privileges, then a lot of people are willing to pull the trigger. And the biggest important thing that the CEO said, they're going to do some math calculations to see how much it's going to cost them and that kind of stuff. And during the official launch, which will come very, very soon, they will reveal that to people. So there's a very big possibility that they're going to have this bridge open where existing NIO owners can transfer the privileges to Envo L90. And if they can do that, like unlimited free battery swap, unlimited warranty, then a lot of people will be switching, and there's going to be a lot of existing NIO owners buying the Envo L90 because that's everything they want in a car, basically. So there's that to keep in mind. But before we talk about the government safety net, let's poke a little bit more fun at Li Auto. All right. So recently, they haven't had the best reputation in terms of quality. All right. And the inside joke here in China is that broken ankles. All right. You got very, very, very thin ankles. And when you got a thin ankle, you tend to, twist your ankle. All right. And there's lots of that instances happening. You see twisted ankles basically on those cars. Very, very funny to think about. But not only that, even if you don't twist your ankle, apparently there's a lot of customers complaining about the fact that the ankles cannot handle the weight of the car and there's noises. So I found this one video, and they're able to show that even during normal driving, you're just driving straight, there's like sounds coming from, the support axles of the car. And apparently it's not just one off. Apparently there's quite a few of them. And it's clearly, thin ankles. All right. Your ankle's too thin. There's sounds when you drive it. If you hit a curb, you might twist your ankle. So, yeah, definitely, when it comes to quality, yeah, you got to be aware of that. You get what you pay for, right? If you give me that car for free, I wouldn't feel safe driving it. So that's just my personal opinion. But also, NIO has won pretty good ranking in terms of several of these recent rewards. In terms of autonomous driving, you can see where it stands. In terms of motor tech, so the motor innovation, NIO is the best because their motors are very, very small, very compact, but offers a lot of power. So that's number one. And you can see in general, in terms of innovation, NIO ranks pretty high on the list. So this is pretty nice. And now let's talk about the government safety net, which I think investors should really be aware of. And this is pretty damn important. So this was actually, stemmed a while back when NIO CEO was talking about battery swap versus charging, and someone brought up the government, has a plan. And then NIO CEO kind of, told him to, you got to be quiet about that. So what is this all about? So, and it kind of lines up with the national television promoting NIO so much because they want NIO to succeed, all right? They do a lot of these free sort of segments on NIO talking about their battery swap stations, etc. But here is the whole entire government safety net thing. There's a bigger purpose to NIO apart from just selling cars. All right, it's part of just innovating. There's a social responsibility purpose for NIO, which is pretty important. If you think about when it comes to a conflict, all right, if war ever breaks out, what gets hit first? Well, of course, you strike the infrastructure, right? You strike military targets. You also strike infrastructure such as energy facilities and stuff like that to cut off power. And this is where the big social responsibility comes in, and that is, of course, securing the energy grid, all right? And not only if for reasons such as that, but also when it comes to power outages, right? When you have power outages, back in 2022, you had power outage in Sichuan province, and NIO was able to step in with their swap stations to provide power to the grid in emergency situations. And this is where it's very, very valuable for the government, all right? And with that, that's also why you're seeing a lot of these energy companies also invest money to build swap stations, NIO swap stations, all right? NIO's sort of battery swap franchising program. A lot of these energy companies are stepping in to put down that money because they also want to be able to secure their grid when it comes to electricity. So you have this great social responsibility there, and that really gives me confidence that, there's always going to be a huge, tremendous amount of value when it just comes to stabilizing the electricity grid here in China. And the government knows that. The government is, partially, I think, one of the reasons they're pushing so hard for swap stations. And this is essentially a big safety net. If things come to, a very bad period of time where money is tight or something like that, there is just going to be tremendous value from NIO's battery swap infrastructure that can be tapped. And I'm sure the government wants this safety net to remain. Not only is it a safety net for NIO, but also a safety net for the entire country's energy grid. So this is pretty important, and this gives me confidence that no matter what happens to NIO as a car company, at the end of the day, there's tremendous value for NIO as an energy company. So even if things get very, very bad, things go south, there's always that safety net. And I'm sure the government will be willing to step in to make sure that their own energy safety net, aka the swap stations, they sort of their backup in terms of when it comes to energy outage is still there. Okay, they don't want to see these swap stations go away. So that is something very important, and that is one of the many reasons why I think NIO will never go under. Yeah, in my personal opinion. But yeah, you guys take it for what it's worth. NIO stock looking really, really juicy right now. The shorts should be panicking, and yeah, damn. I think this year, possibly, it might be the last year we see NIO stock in single digits. Possibly. As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.